Good morning. I'm Berks County Commissioner Christian Leinbach, and I want to welcome you to our Commissioners Board meeting for July the 16th of 2020. As always, we will begin with a moment of silence, followed by a pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We did have an executive session yesterday, and that dealt with litigation, personnel, and real estate. Are there any additions or corrections for the meeting minutes for July the 8th, the operation meeting minutes for July the 9th, and the commissioner meeting minutes for July the 14th? And actually, this is backwards here. July 8th operations meeting, July 9th commissioners meeting, and the July 14th operations meeting minutes. Hearing none, the minutes will stand approved as presented. Is there any specific comments regarding agenda items, Mary?
There are not.
Just a reminder that anyone that would like to make comments, public comments are accepted through the Q&A function in Microsoft Teams. If you're listening through YouTube Live or Facebook Live, you can post your question there. Everyone's limited to one question, and you must include your name and the municipality where you reside. If you're from the media, just include your name and the media you represent. Going into our agenda, item 1 under authorizing, Budget Department, adopt a resolution authorizing 2020 budget transfers in the amount of $34,700 and 2020 appropriations in the amount of $124,839 per listing dated July the 13th of 2020. Human Resources, a couple of items. Item number 1, authorize the appointment of Sarah Torres, bilingual HAVA coordinator in election services. Item 2, authorize the promotion of Leslie Gaines from assistant cataloging librarian to bibliographic service manager, library system. We have several items listed under the commissioners. Item A, adopt a resolution authorizing execution of the designation of agent resolution for PEMA DAP, designating Brian A. Gottschall, Director of Emergency Services, execution for and on behalf of the County of Berks of all required forms and documents for the purpose of obtaining financial assistance under the Robert T. Stafford Disaster Relief and Emergency Assistance Act for COVID-19. Item B, adopt a resolution authorizing the creation of a Berks County government COVID-19 Healthcare Advisory Panel to advise the Berks County Board of Commissioners on COVID-19 related matters, whose objective is to provide professional COVID-19 related healthcare advice to the board regarding specific issues facing the county generally or county agencies or departments specifically, and further to proactively provide input regarding COVID-19 to the board as the advisory panel may deem necessary. And be it further resolved the following individuals and/or positions are appointed to the panel effective immediately. Dr. Michael Baxter, MD, and he is the panel chair, former chair, Department of Family and Community Medicine, Reading Hospital, retired. Jeffrey Held, MD, Penn State Health, St. Joseph System representative. He is Vice President of Medical Affairs, Penn State Health, St. Joseph Medical Center. Mary Kelleher, MD, non-affiliated community physician representative, Chief Medical Officer, Berks Community Health Center. Deborah Powell, MD, Reading Hospital Tower Health System representative, Chief Section of Infectious Disease, Medical Director of Infection Prevention, Reading Hospital Tower Health. Monica Reyes, non-physician community representative, Health and Human Services Program Officer, Berks County Community Foundation. And then two positions, Berks County Director of Emergency Services, who serves ex officio as a non-voting member. Currently, that is Brian Gottschall. And then the Executive Director of the Berks County Medical Society, who shall serve ex officio as a non-voting member. Excuse me. That currently is TJ Huckleberry. We've been working with our healthcare partners for some time, and we want to thank them. My colleagues may have comments either now or at the end, but since we're right in this, we really appreciate our healthcare partners stepping forward and assisting the county. One of the reasons this is important, we feel a need to process the information we're getting from the federal government, CDC, Pennsylvania Department of Health, the Commonwealth, the governor, and his administration. And at times, it's either difficult to understand or we get conflicting information. And this group can help us, I think, do a better job here in our role as the County of Berks and as commissioners.
I just want to add that I'm really pleased that they were willing to step forward and help us in this endeavor to help bring clarity to things that are oftentimes very confusing. Thank you.
Absolutely. And there's no one is taking any compensation. This is a volunteer effort on their part. Okay, item C, adopt a resolution of the Board of Commissioners approving the Next Generation Farmer Loan Program to provide financing in the total amount of $412,500 for Ivan S. and Arlene B. Burkholder for property located in Maiden Creek Township, Fleetwood, PA, and further authorizes the chair to execute the approval of applicable elected representative form and the letter of approval to Ivan S. and Arlene B. Burkholder. The Next Generation Farmer Loan Program provides financing to eligible next generation farmers to purchase land and other capital intensive assets to begin their agricultural enterprise through the Berks County Industrial Development Authority and the Greater Berks Development and the Central and Western Chester County Industrial Development Authority. The approval by Berks County shall not in any way pledge or obligate the credit or taxing power of the County of Berks, nor shall the County of Berks be liable for the payment of the principal or interest on any obligation issued by the Central and Western Chester County Industrial Development Authority. Item D, adopt a resolution authorizing Alan Piper, Transportation Planner, to electronically execute a letter of amendment to the general reimbursement agreement for federal aid projects between the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation and the County of Berks for the Gibraltar Road Bridge Replacement Project in Exeter Township. This amendment increases the total project cost from $782,914 to $950,019 to incorporate additional professional costs for final design, utilities, and row acquisition into the overall funding for the project. The Berks County share of this project increases from $39,145.70 to $47,500.95. All other terms and conditions of the original agreement, which are not being modified by this letter of amendment, remain in full force and effect. Item number 2, a motion authorizing execution of contract agreements and amendments is furnished by the contract coordinator as set forth on the attached listing dated July the 14th of 2020. There are a total of 24 contracts. There are 12 with the Area Agency on Aging. There's 1 with the Berksheim, 2 with CareerLink, 6 with Children and Youth Services, 1 with the Department of Emergency Services, 1 with Information Systems, and 1 with the Sheriff's Department. And then finally, a motion to ratify and confirm payments is set forth on the Controller's Office voucher listing dated July 14th of 2020 for the week ending July 14th of 2020, and the payment of electronic transfers and employee payroll.
Motion to approve the agenda is presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. With that, we will move to our treasurer's report, and we have Dennis Adams with us to provide that report.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey.
We have an opening balance today of $217,818,458.16. A balance to clear of $4,650,982.57, leaving us with a balance today of $213,157,516.55. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dennis. We're going to move to our county controller, Sandy Graffius, for the controller's report.
Good morning, downtown.
Good morning.
We are short and sweet today. Total accounts payable, $3,624,923.06, and there was no payroll.
Very good. Next item is our Chief Administrative Officer, Ron Seaman. Ron.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing to report at this time.
We'll move then to Commissioner Kevin Barnhart.
Thank you, Commissioner Leinbach, and everyone who has joined us today. A couple of quick announcements. The Community Needs Assessment to determine how we will dispense our $38 million allocation of CARES Act money. So far, we've received 75 organizations requesting assistance. We are keeping the line open to apply till the end of this month. We have recently received the money as of Monday. We're putting it in a separate account so we can track it separate from the other county monies. We're probably going to be starting to dispense the money upon approval of the board, probably the first week of August. Again, we're encouraging all community organizations to apply through the assessment. It's on our website. It's a communityneeds@countyofberks.com email. There are a lot of questions that the more you answer, the better, but answer them as best you can. Again, recommending you print off a hard copy to use as a workbook and then go online and fill this out. It's not a one that you can pause and then go back the next day and complete. Want to make sure every person, organization out there is heard from so that we put this money out in the best manner possible. We're having ongoing discussions with Whit O'Brien, our grant manager who is supporting us on this endeavor. We're learning more and more each day. about the CARES Act allocations, how they impact businesses, how this can help businesses. So I'll bring it up probably at our meeting this afternoon to review that with our Whit O'Brien presentation. So it's an interesting period of time we're living in. But again, we want to make sure that each and every organization out there that has not received money thus far and needs the money, whether it's for future needs for the rest of this year or have already incurred the expense on a reimbursement basis. We're also encouraging that with our businesses as well. Businesses who have been shut out so far, this is probably your opportunity to apply and quite honestly probably be approved at the very least for PPE, for protective equipment, for touchless type registers in restaurants and places like that. So please avail yourself of the opportunity. It's on our website at countyofberks.com. There's a tutorial on there with myself and Justin Luce walking you through it. It's about 18 minutes long. So we encourage you to watch the tutorial, listen to the tutorial first before you enter into this. And if you have questions, again, community needs at countyofberks.com. We're pretty quick in getting back to you. If we don't know the answer right off the bat, we contact Whit O'Brien. They give us the accurate information to respond. So Polk County Wellness update real quick. Still have 6 functioning contact tracing teams in place. Still working with interns for the fall school year at Kutztown University. And again, as always in Berks County, the volunteers have stepped forward in amazing numbers. To date, there's 266 contacts in the database. Only 22 have refused contact tracing. That's 8%. I think that's really a tribute to our community and the Polk County Wellness for having the reputation for obviously reliability and for discretion when you're dealing with people. So that's really good stuff. They continue to work with our other local colleges and universities for the fall semesters. And they're doing a virtual town hall with Reading School District officials. So how do children return to school in the fall? So Carolyn and her staff are to be commended and are working extremely hard to do this very vital function of this COVID-19 pandemic is contact tracing. Last but not least, my assistant Jessica has been working extremely hard on pulling together the final draft version of our SET report, our savings and efficiency team. We had our finish up meeting yesterday. We're going to be presenting a document next Thursday for review and comment. This is really a document that will change as time goes on. There are a fair amount of short-term improvements with technology and efficiency to really get the biggest bang for our buck with the county taxpayers and their support of the county. There are some mid-range and then there's some long-term. So we phrase it as short-term as things we can do now this year. Mid-range is being budgeted for 2021 and approved by the board. And then beyond 21 into 22 and beyond would be more significant projects that would be 6-figure type projects in technology and things. But also have to have the requisite bandwidth and support from staff to be able to do that. So we're really excited about the report. So stay tuned. We'll probably have it out to you guys no later than Tuesday. So we don't spring it on you Thursday. You'll have it to take a look at. And again, each and every time we get new inquiries and new interest in something that can provide more efficiency, not just for the employees, but for the public, we're going to ask to have that added to the report and then approved and move forward with the county. I think these are great times. You learn a lot through a situation like this, but what we've really learned is how to do things much more effectively, remotely, and we want to make sure that continues into the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Barnhart, and we'll move now to Commissioner Michael Rivera.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Leinbach. I want to echo the comments of my fellow colleagues in reference to the members of the Health Advisory Panel. I want to thank them for their dedication, for volunteering their time and their knowledge to help us navigate through this process of COVID-19. As we all know, this is not done with, it's not going away. and we don't know how long it will be here. So their expertise and their time and dedication to this is very much appreciated. For those of you that aren't aware of it, the governor emitted some mitigation orders yesterday again, which go into effect today. And they primarily have to do with bars and bars and restaurants. And in a nutshell, we had in the green phase initially, bars and restaurants were able to open up to 50% capacity inside. That has now been lowered to 25% capacity inside, with a limit of a group of 25 in a, let's say in a group setting inside of the bar or restaurant for any type of activity. There are other things in there as well in reference to the serving of alcohol with food only and so forth. But just so you're aware, if you go to your favorite restaurant and now the limit is going down from 50% capacity to 25, that is part of the governor's new order. Part of that also is that all nightclubs are prohibited from conducting operations, so they are closed down for now. And indoor events are limited to a gathering of 25 people or less. Outdoor still continues to be 250 or less. And when they look at the capacity in the restaurants and bars, this includes the staff as well in that number. He's also asking that businesses continue to telecommute as much as possible. That way we're keeping people at a safe distance and working from their homes as much as possible as well. So these are just some of the things that come out. Like I said, we're not over this yet. We each need to continue doing our part to make sure that we move forward rather than backwards. Many states have started to go backwards. We need to make sure that we continue to move forward, and to do that, we need everyone's help. Also want to touch on two items that I've been touching on almost every time I speak for the last 2 weeks. And one of that is the rental assistance program and the small business grants. The rental assistance programs, they are open now both for the city and for the county outside of the city. And there's programs for the city specifically and programs for outside of the city specifically, and programs that cover the whole county as a whole. So if you do have any questions, you can reach out to the Berks Coalition to End Homelessness if you're in the city or outside the city. If you're in the city, you can also reach out to the city's Human Relations Commission. They have information on the different programs as well. There's one program in specific, which is through PHFA, which is the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency. Their program allows the landlord to request the assistance on behalf of the tenant. So if you are a landlord and you have tenants that have not been able to pay their rent due to COVID, please make sure that you go to the PFHA website, complete the application there. You will need your tenant's information and the tenant's signature. So it's important to understand that tenants work together with their landlords. The worst thing is when you have a tenant that doesn't communicate with the landlord can't communicate with them. That just makes issues worse. Landlords understand that these are special situations, special circumstances that we're going with. But the landlords that I have spoken with do say, you know what, I need to make sure that my tenants continue to communicate with me because we want to make this work out. So please, if you know of a tenant that's going through a difficulty, please ask them to reach out to the landlord, and together they can work through this, because there is this help that goes directly that the landlords can apply for, but they need the help from the tenant. So there are different programs out there. Please, we want to make sure that as many people are able to stay in their homes as possible rather than have them evicted. You also may have heard that the moratorium for evictions related to non-payment due to COVID has been extended till August 31st. Last week when we spoke, that was the final day, was Friday after that, but that was extended about half an hour after we finished our commissioners board meeting. We received notification that it has been extended till August the 31st. We also have the small business restart grants. There's a lot of need out there in the small business community. Please help us get the word out there. There's the initial grant that was put out there. We're looking at doing another grant based on the CARES Act money. The criteria will be a little bit different just because of where the money's coming from. We can be a little bit more flexible on that aspect. And the state also has their own program as well. And we're going to be looking to working together to make it easier for businesses to apply basically the same criteria, same grant amounts. That way businesses don't have to go to 3 different places, apply for 3 different loans or 3 different grants, sorry, and not know what they're doing. So for now, go to the Neighborhood Housing Services website. There's a list of documents that you need. Go there, go preparing those documents, get the application in. If you don't qualify for that specific grant, we will be having a second grant that comes out with the CARES Act money. We don't know what amount that will be yet. And you can also apply for the state grant, which is through, you can go to the Community First Fund website for that information. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to my office. I'd be happy to answer any questions in reference to that. Thank you very much, and Commissioner Linebaugh, back to you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Rivera and Commissioner Barnhart. Several things. On Monday, I was able to participate in a ribbon cutting for the brand new Tower Health Acadia Mental Health Facility out on Route 183. This was a socially distanced ribbon cutting, so there were only 2 people that actually did the ribbon cutting. Representative Clint Matthews from Tower Health, and then a representative from Acadia. Those in attendance were spread out in the room. A very impressive facility. And for those that may not be aware, this is a joint venture of Tower Health and Acadia, and this is a for-profit venture. So they are paying property tax at the full level for that property on 183. During our meeting, or after we started our meeting, we got a press release from Tower Health. They announced today that COVID-19 antibody testing is now available at Tower Health Urgent Care. This is already posted up on the County of Berks Facebook page. It's going out to the media via Tower Health. But the locations, I'm going to read them quickly, and I'll try to focus on the ones that are just in Berks County. So Douglasville, Sinking Spring, and Wyomissing are the locations here in Berks County. They have locations throughout Berks, Chester, and Montgomery County. And again, you can go to the County of Berks Facebook page. You can also go on to towerhealth.org and get more information, and that is antibody testing. That's a test that in effect determines whether or not a person already had COVID-19. Ostensibly, if they have and they have the antibodies, that should offer some protection against getting the virus again. Last week, I talked about some businesses that weren't doing a very good job implementing effective health and safety procedures. One of the businesses I named was Fairgrounds Farmers Market. And we had documentation on the failures. That evening, I got a call from one of the businesses at the farmers market from a lady by the name of Missy Moore. She runs the Wiser Delicatessen, and she let me know, and when I say call, she actually contacted me through Facebook Messenger, and I know her. She let me know that their business is doing a very good job. She was disappointed that I highlighted that, and I reiterated to her that we had received numerous complaints, in fact, multiple 911 calls about the market. She said, "Would you please come visit us?" And so I did. On Friday around 12:30, I went over with a little bit of fear and trepidation of what I was going to see generally, and not exactly wanting to go into a crowded place if people aren't doing the right things. I was pleasantly surprised. I put my mask on, got to the entrance. There was a Boscov employee at the entrance checking to make sure people were wearing a mask. I noticed that there was a large pump container of antibacterial soap, hand cleaner. And then I went and I met with Missy Moore. Missy had a full face shield on. She's working in delicatessen at the time. She was actually cutting up some meat. And she explained to me what they were doing. I noticed everyone was wearing a mask, including all of the employees. So when she was done showing me what they were doing, she asked me, would you like to meet Bruce? He is the manager of the facility. I'm sure he would like to meet you. And obviously inside my head, I said, oh boy, I really don't want to do that. But I said, I'm here and why not? Let's go over and meet him. Well, again, that was a very pleasant surprise. Bruce let me know that I believe the same day I made the comments at our Wednesday commissioners weekly update that Boscov's had reached out to them to make sure they were implementing the right procedure. Bruce brought in another one of his staff, explained exactly what they were doing, and I want to encourage you, we were all wearing masks, we were all social distancing, but they've taken this very seriously. And I told Bruce, I said, look, Bruce, I called it out because of the multiple calls to 911. I'm going to make sure our people know and the public know that Fairgrounds Farmers Market has stepped up. They are making all of the employees and all of the vendors wear their masks and follow the guidelines. They are requiring everyone that enters the facility to wear a mask. And that includes if they have somebody say, and they gave me an example of a woman that came in, was on oxygen, couldn't wear a mask, and they let her know that there are other means for pickup, curbside pickup, but they're not letting anyone in for her sake and for the sake of others. So I kudos to Fairgrounds Farmers Market for stepping it up, doing the right thing. Kudos to Bruce, who is the manager there. And special thanks to Missy Moore and Wiser Delicatessen. A lot of times when people have an issue with something I've said, and my colleagues go through the same thing, they don't call us, they don't ask a question, they just go on a diatribe on social media or sending messages out to their friends. Missy Moore checked, called, we talked, and because of that, we have a good story to tell. I also want to share one other great story. And my wife and I last weekend, I think it was Friday evening, went to dinner at Willoughby's on Park. George Zeppos is the owner. I believe he also owns the Hitching Post. And I told him at the end of the meal, not only was the meal absolutely fantastic, I let George know that I was very impressed with the health and safety standards that they've implemented, limiting the seating, constantly saw staff cleaning surfaces, everybody wearing a mask. We wore a mask until the time we sat down, and when we got up, put a mask on again. And I want to note something. I'm a little concerned with the governor's order across the board with restaurants. There is no doubt that there are bad actors and that there are restaurants and bars not appropriately following health and safety guidelines. But I don't think that's a legitimate reason to punish everybody. I've been in several restaurants now that are just doing a fantastic job and are not putting people at risk. And keep in mind, a restaurant is already highly regulated because of the food service and the kitchen area and everything. They understand what they should be doing. And I wish that the governor and the Department of Health would look at the businesses that are doing the right thing, because it's discouraging. These businesses only recently were able to open up indoor dining at 50% and are getting knocked back to 20%. And if they haven't done anything wrong and they're not putting people at risk, I really struggle with that. And I've heard from a number of restaurant owners that are very, very upset. It's almost like, why do we try? We get slapped down even though we do everything we're told to do and we do it right, and we're not massing people up at our bar shoulder to shoulder. We're not violating the rules. It's frustrating and it's disappointing. Our focus, and all three of the commissioners have been consistent on this. We need to make the focus about effective health and safety measures being in place. And if you have them in place, you should be able to be open. And if you don't, that's the businesses that the governor should be focusing on. So again, kudos to Willoughby's on Park and Fairgrounds Farmers Market. Those are all the comments I have. Do we have any comments from any of our row officers? Hearing none, we will go to public comment. I just want to note that, again, if you have a comment, we need your name, your municipality. You're limited to one comment. If you're from the media, you may make multiple comments or questions, but we need your name and the media you represent. At this time, we're going to go to the comments, and I'm going to ask Mary Buer to please go through the comments and share them with the group.
Crystal Kowalski from Why I'm Missing. Good morning, commissioners. Will the new mental health facility on Route 183 be responsible for paying property tax? I ask because half of the joint venture is a publicly traded company that is financially doing quite well and growing. I am curious as to how the tax liability is structured in such a situation. Thank you. Saeed Ahmed, Why Missing? You said in your June 25th meeting, you don't have enforcement authority if businesses don't follow guidance regarding masks and social distancing, and that these violations should be reported to the DA. Have you worked out a process with the DA on how to coordinate guidance you provide with enforcement that the DA would do so that guidance and enforcement are fully in sync? And if in place, how is this being implemented in practice? Melvia Ahmed, Why I'm Missing. If there is a spike of COVID-19 in Berks, what educational or other measures are you planning to ensure people know that masks are important to protect themselves and others, and guidance on social distancing? Jane Palmer, Why I'm Missing. Commissioners, tomorrow, July 17th, is the deadline set by Federal Judge Dolly G. for ICE to release all migrant children from detention. ICE may ignore this ruling, as it has done in the past, or it may use it as an excuse to forcibly remove children from their parents. You have consistently denied the veracity of sworn statements from detainees and immigration attorneys alike who claim that the detention center is not safe and the detainees not healthy. You have given nothing but lip service to efforts to repurpose the center into something of genuine service to our community. How long will you continue to preside over this travesty of human rights in our own backyard? Bry Tyson, Reading. A Commonwealth court has just denied a petition to release families from the detention center, claiming they're fine. The detainees have noted they are not fine. So how do we release them? And why have you not released them yet? Louise Grimm from Why I'm Missing. Even after release, children who are detained in ICE custody have been shown to carry trauma with them. Separating them from their families would be unconscionable, especially with the looming threat of COVID-19. It's imperative that the children and their families in the detention center must be released this week, as was ordered by a federal judge. The lives of the detainees are worth more than the money that Berks County makes off of their detention. Luzerne County had its Kids for Cash tragedy. Let's not follow in its footsteps. Lou Spencer, Reading. The Reading Eagle has been reporting on the financial help being made available to people and businesses in various circumstances. One article on the help going to local businesses stated the range of help that have been provided so far. The low end was $62. How is that possible? I hope it was a misprint because it's hard to imagine that making any kind of dent at all. Claudia Strauss, Berkshire Heights. You shared a lot of information about the Berks County Residential Center last week, and there are some things I wish I knew more about. For example, if each migrant hopeful family has their own bedroom, are they confined to that bedroom all day? Is there common space where several families gather and interact? Do they have their meals in that common space? What about where they go to do laundry or space where children are taught? You said that the residents are issued only one disposable mask per week. How does that protect these residents? How does it protect the staff? My understanding of disposable masks is one-time use only for health and safety, and that even with cloth masks, we are all being advised to use them at maximum for one day only. And what is the protocol for the masks the staff are using? They are the ones going out into the world and back into the center on a daily basis. The masks they wear are supposed to protect those around them. Do they start fresh each day? Please comment. Thank you. Tobias Rhodes, Reading. On Wednesday, retired Judge Arthur Grimm wrote the following letter to the editor of the Reading Eagle, a former Luzerne County judge who was involved in a scheme to send thousands of kids to a for-profit jail in exchange for taking millions of dollars in kickbacks, has received early release from federal prison because of the coronavirus concerns. This stands in stark contrast to the innocent children and their asylum-seeking families who remain detained at the Berks County Residential Center. What is crystal clear is that all are at a high risk to contract COVID-19 if they remain in a congregate facility. The convicted Luzerne judge admitted in court that he committed egregious felonies, while the children and families have not been charged with the commission of any crimes. And in fact, many fled here to save themselves from rampant violence in their home countries. Right now, the federal government is tied in knots about what to do. For the second time, a well-reasoned opinion by a federal judge orders that the kids be released with all deliberate speed. The Trump administration disagrees. Counsel on behalf of the children argues persuasively, based on overwhelming research, that releasing children without their parents will disrupt the primal parent-child relationship. This will be devastating for both and can contribute to long-standing traumatic, social, and psychological effects. Keeping this facility open undermines our county's long history as a beacon of hope for people seeking safety. Every family has a sponsor ready to take them. Our county leaders need to do the right thing. Close the center and close it now. Will you heed Judge Grimm's call to close the center and close it now? Cometta Williams, Reading. How is it possible that a judge that concocted a scheme to build youth detention centers and then made money on each child he sent away, thereby destroying countless lives for minor offenses, and who was convicted and sentenced to 17 years in prison, can be sent home to house arrest for his protection during COVID-19, with the potential to spend the remaining 6 years of his sentence at home, when we have people here in Berks County in jail for less heinous crimes and for no crimes at all? Where is the sense of justice? Where is the sense of proportion? This sends a terrible message that privilege and accomplishment, money, connections, having been a judge, deserves better treatment. It should be quite the opposite. He should be held to a higher standard. Henry O'Leary, Coomer Township. Commissioners, your friend and chamber president, Jim Gerlach, recently held a virtual meet and greet in which he cited bringing back passenger rail service to Philadelphia as a priority. Noting that a group in Phoenixville and Chester County has already organized an effort to extend rail service, he pointed out that it will also take commitments from Berks and Montgomery County officials to have the full line built. Will you make this commitment, and what are you doing to make passenger rail a reality in Berks? Celine Schreier, Center Park. Governor Wolf recently extended the moratorium on evictions to August 31st. As I'm sure you're aware, many thousands of Berks County renters like myself and homeowners are nowhere near being able to pay their rent or mortgage payments and will be devastated if on September 1st they are suddenly confronted with massive unpayable bills. What measures are you trying to protect? What measures are you taking to protect vulnerable Berks County residents from eviction in the fall? Do we have a countywide rent fund, and if so, how much and how does it work? Chris Ellis, Reading. Will the county create a fund so that renters are able to pay their rent when the eviction moratorium ends? And will it be available for every renter, regardless of municipality? This would help both renters and landlords, as renters will be able to pay their rent. It's win-win. Becky Ellis, Reading. I don't get it. People fleeing for their very lives are to be imprisoned. People unable to pay their parking tickets are to be sent to jail. But judges who send children as young as 10 to reformatories in order to fill beds and line their pockets can literally go home to their own pillows. Finish out their prison terms in comfort and safety. The judge may have been imprisoned in Florida, but he was a judge in our state, Pennsylvania, when he committed his crimes in our state. Pennsylvania, what about what we are doing here in Berks County? Who are we releasing? Who are we imprisoning? Can we look at our track record? Can we look our track record in the face, imprisoning people who can't pay their fines, holding families indefinitely, families doing what most of our forebears did, else we wouldn't be here? What are we thinking? Aren't we better than that here in Berks County? Beth Schmoyer in Heidelberg Township. If they can release the Luzerne County judge because of COVID-19, why are the immigrants at the center still being detained? They all have a sponsor. What are we waiting for? They are in danger of COVID-19 also. Carla Mannix, Sinking Spring. Thank you for enabling this new way to participate in local government. I have just learned that you would consider changing the use of the Family Berks Residential Center, which is really an immigrant family detention center, but only if ending the lease with ICE is budget neutral, meaning the $1 million a year that ICE pays and the jobs held there could be equally replaced. That essentially means I have put a limit on my morality, that I am willing to engage in the immoral jailing of children for that price. That it is worth $1 million to me to continue traumatizing those children. I know that doctors have told us that detaining children for any amount of time affect their mental and emotional health for the long term. I've actually played with children jailed in that detention center and have personally seen the toll that imprisonment has on a child. So as a taxpayer, I and my family want Berks County to get out of the business of detention, family detention. Commissioner Rivera, can you see the hypocrisy of a moratorium on eviction because of wanting to keep families in their homes, but we won't let these families go to their sponsors' homes? Assuming most good people in our county are opposed to jailing children, I submit that the next agenda should include a report on what steps have actually been taken to find a replacement use for the Berks Detention Center. Susan Hefner, Lowell Heidelberg. On restaurants, my daughter works, excuse me, my daughter works in one that is opened minimally. The problem there is not the restaurant workers, but the guests that come. They have customer problems every day. Every day they tighten up their rules. David Del Negro, West Reading. Thank you for your continual updates. Proud of our county commissioners. Jess Royer, Spring Township. Cases of COVID-19 are still rising at an alarming rate, but President Trump is telling the nation to go back to school in just a few weeks. Reopening schools as the pandemic is still growing worse is like corralling people into a burning building before the fire has been extinguished. The recklessness and malfeasance of this administration is unconscionable. No effort has been made to consult with health officials, scientists, school administrators, or teachers' unions before declaring this mandate. Millions of lives have been put at risk. Children, teachers, and other school workers, everyone they live with, and really all of us. I am aware that most decisions regarding schools fall to state leadership and that there will be serious concerns about childcare if schools do not open. As county commissioners, what are you saying to Governor Wolf about reopening schools in Berks County? What are you doing to support working families who need support with child care now more than ever? We have what appears to be from David Del Negro. Are you looking at that? There was a question he wanted to ask before his thank you. Do you want that read?
I would not. We need to keep it together. And I appreciate, I know he had, and if this is a good comment too, but right. We said one comment.
Okay. Amy Louise Levengood, Amity Township. Good morning, commissioners. If Pennsylvania is poised for another surge of coronavirus cases, as we have seen in other states, what guidance and support can Berks County offer local schools as we all look for the fall? In my view, having a dedicated Berks County Health Department could help ascertain the risks and the best course of action in a situation like this. Thank you. And that is the conclusion of our comments.
Okay, we will close the comments at this time. We allow an opportunity for commissioners that may want to comment. I'm going to comment first. A couple of things. One, I want to encourage people, and I know a number of the people that are making comments. You can email the commissioners anytime with your questions. This is not a Q&A session. We say that all the time. This is an opportunity for public comment. So we're not going to answer all the questions. It's just, that's not what we do in a commissioners meeting. But please email us. And some of you have done that in the past. My guess is that you're interested in getting your question out publicly. But if you're interested in detailed answers that we have time to check and get back to you, email is the best way to handle that. Secondly, I will tell you, I find it very offensive, this effort to tie the Kids for Cash issue to the Berks County Residential Center. You should be ashamed to tie those two things together. The Berks County Residential Center is open today because the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services has been unable since 2001 to find any legitimate reason to close it down. Believe me, since the efforts of the governor to pull the license, we have gone through a myriad, many times more inspections over the course of a year than we ever saw before, unannounced inspections. And the case that we recently won was won largely on the testimony of Department of Human Services people saying they're doing an excellent job relative to COVID and the way that facility is managed. And to tie this to Luzerne County Kids for Cash, shameful, absolutely shameful. A couple of other things. People have asked about the message from the county regarding doing your part. We are preparing to launch an effort, probably starting sometime next week. Stephanie Weaver is our public relations officer. We authorized the spending of dollars to promote that effort. We'll be talking about the need for using a mask, the need for social distancing. We are going to reinforce the focus on telework. We're doing that in the county. Every employee that is able effectively to telework from home is continuing to telework from home here in the county of Berks, in our county government. We're encouraging businesses where it makes sense to continue to do the same thing. That's a proper approach. The issue of passenger rail service, I have been actively engaged in this for a number of years, but most recently over the last 3 years, discussions that I've had personally last year and early this year with Norfolk Southern. I've had multiple meetings with the Chamber Alliance over that same period of time. I was in meetings with the Chamber Alliance prior to COVID-19. I am actively working right now with the Chamber Alliance and Montgomery County. I've spoken to Chester County last fall. They have a new group of county commissioners, letting them settle in. 2 of their 3 commissioners are brand new and they've got their hands full with COVID. but I actually am having a call with folks from the chamber and some individuals from Montgomery County to talk about the study. The most recent study is surprisingly positive, and I say that in that up until now, excuse me, every study that has been done since the early 90s up until the study that was done shortly after Commissioner Barnhart and I took office had a significant annual cost to the counties that were participating. I believe Commissioner Barnhart was close to $1 million back around 2009, 2010.
That's correct.
However, every study thus far has focused on train service that simply went from Berks County, Reading, Wyomissing to Philadelphia and back. This is the first study that completely looks at a different model. It's train service, but it's not a SEPTA train. It's an independent train that runs to Philadelphia and continues on, one to the south, as far south as Washington, D.C. on the Amtrak line, one to the north, as far north as New York City on the Amtrak line. I've seen the information and the data. It is very compelling. The cost, and I hesitate to say this, but a lot of information has been shared publicly. The cost to the county is very limited because this creates a whole new funding model. We're looking at it, I'm looking at it right now very closely. We will see where it goes. The linchpin, I really believe, or two linchpins. One is the creation of a joint authority. Most likely, it has to include Montgomery and Berks, possibly Chester County. And then secondly, in order to get to Philadelphia, any system's going to have to utilize Norfolk Southern tracks. That is an enormous lift. Norfolk Southern owns those tracks. I've talked to the representative for the Northeast United States multiple times. He's made it very clear this is a long shot from his standpoint. However, the consultants hired by the Chamber Alliance have done similar projects on Norfolk Southern tracks in other parts of the country, primarily here east of the Mississippi. And they believe they have a model that will be of interest to Norfolk Southern. So we will see where it goes. I am committed to the principal passenger rail service and have been doing everything I can to push it forward. But at the end of the day, we have to have a workable plan. Wishing things doesn't make them happen. You have to come up with a plan and a strategy that works for Berks, works for Montgomery, potentially for Chester. And the only reason I'm not putting Chester down, but there's a relatively small portion impact in Chester County compared to the portion in Berks and Montgomery County. So that's what I have to share. Any of my colleagues want to? Commissioner Barnhart, go ahead.
I'd like to blend the response to the questions regarding a county health department and opening of schools. I refer to a National Association of Counties article dated July 6th, Counties Help Guide Fall School Reopenings. Now listen to this. In Bucks County, PA, County Health Department Director David Damsker released guidelines for the 13 school districts throughout the county. The Pennsylvania Department of Education is requiring each school district to create a health and safety plan before reopening. While each school district makes the ultimate decision regarding reopening procedures, Damsker said the county health department provided general guidance for each district to choose to follow. We know right off the bat that the CDC guidelines saying you must be 6 feet away from everyone else is not actually tenable or practical to open up a school using those guidelines. Damsker explained the students and teachers have the option to wear masks all day, but it is not mandatory based on the county's recommendations. So he is the head of the county health department in Bucks County saying, well, we really can't social distance and we really can't ask the teachers and the students to wear masks, but it's okay to go back to school that way. He emphasized that mask wearing is often difficult for young children. If a student were to test positive, Damsker said, the county's guidelines do not currently recommend shutting down the school. The health department would contact trace to identify students who may have been exposed and take appropriate measures depending on each case. The virus is not going to go away by shutting down a school, he said. We need to work with the disease and figure out ways of handling it without going to the extreme every time. Last but not least, I've said this openly and honestly that at some point, maybe we should have a robust discussion regarding a county health department. I'm very pleased again that we have our health professionals coming to guide us, at the very least through this COVID-19 pandemic. But I would call your attention to Bucks, Montgomery, Chester, Philadelphia, and now Allegheny as a hotspot in Pennsylvania, and Erie County have county health departments. So go on the tracking mechanism on the state website and see where the outbreak of cases are. They are traditionally and primarily in counties that have county health departments. I'm not disparaging county health departments, but it's not the be all to end all. It's not the fix all to our problem. Allegheny was doing well because they were not part of the New York surge into New Jersey, but now they've had the highest daily, they blew past us 2 weeks ago. Erie County, I spoke to their health director a few weeks ago, and the problem in Erie County is because when we were in red and yellow, people from New York State and Ohio were coming there back and forth. They were getting people coming back and forth to go, their county residents were going to New York and Ohio and bringing the disease back with them. And then here's the kicker. They said when Governor Wolf decided to reopen Lake Erie, then we had a spike in cases. So listen, nothing's perfect. We're not perfect. Doctors aren't perfect. But I think we're trying to be in this together. We're all trying to do our part. But I found it kind of interesting where a county health director said it's okay to go back to school without the safeguards that we keep preaching here in Berks County every day. Social distance, wash your hands, wear a mask, and he's saying it's okay for them to go back to school. Kids are going to wash their hands every 10 minutes? I highly doubt it. So I find it amazing that they'll have an outbreak in a school, but that doesn't mean we close the school down. Thank you.
And Commissioner Barnhart, just jump in. We've had multiple discussions with the Berks County Intermediate Unit. I believe actually a week or so ago, Dr. Jill Hackman had all three commissioners on and Brian Gottschall, and that's when we first learned about the Bucks County guidance. Mm-hmm. They were saying, how can this be that a health department is pretty much going against the CDC guidelines, going against the Pennsylvania Department of Health guidelines. So I'm glad you brought that up. Very good.
Nationwide and worldwide, we're finding there's no one size fits all answer to everything. Everyone's trying something different. Everyone's trying to see what's working, what's not working. And in our state in particular, Governor Wolf said, look, I'm researching the data from other states and from our other counties. The outbreak in Allegheny County, they traced to overpopulating restaurants and people sitting side by side at bars. So we can fault him or commend him for what he's doing, but he's following the data, the scientific data, and trying to keep us all safe. So thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Commissioner Barnhart. Commissioner Rivera?
Yep, I just want to add a few things. I won't go over what the two of you have already covered, but there was one comment around help to businesses being $62. That I'm not sure of the article, I didn't read that, but that has to be some type of typo. The minimum grant amount was $2,500, depending on what you did anyway, anywhere up to $50,000. So that was, I'm sure it was some type of typo, but if you want to email me the article, I'd be able to address that article specifically. And in reference to the rental assistance, again, countywide, it is countywide. You can call the Berks Coalition to End Homelessness 610-372-7222. Again, that's 610-372-7222 countywide. And if you need help with mortgages, you can go directly to the PHFA website. They have a program for relief for mortgages. The rental is done through the county. The mortgage one is done directly through PHFA. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just for everyone's benefit, I just published up on the Q&A, and I didn't do it quite right for Commissioner Barnhart. Emails for the 3 commissioners. There's a space in County of Berks for Commissioner Barnhart, but you'll get the idea. I encourage you, if you have a specific question and you want an answer that we don't have to come up with off the top of our head, we can check with appropriate department, please email us. We will get back to you to address specific questions. Any other comments or anything else for the good of the order?
Motion to adjourn.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you for joining us.